Hello. We are now going to be talking about peer pressure today. This lesson is going to seem a little bit different because how we would do it in class is a lot different than how you would do it online. But I'll kind of talk you through what the activities would be. When you would come in class, I would have a jar of mints at the front of the room, and you would be asked to guess how many mints are in the container. So when you come in, you would just take a guess, how many mints are there. You probably wouldn't think about it that much. Maybe you would. And then I would tell you to get with a partner. And then you and your partner would then collaborate and decide how many mints are in the container. So whenever this is happening, you guys are probably going to change your answers because you're agreeing with one answer. And then I would tell you to get with a group of 3 to 5 people, and then you would guess for a third time. So now you're in a bigger group. You're comparing your reasons. You're discussing why your reasons were what they were, and you're guessing again. And over time, your answer, no matter what, is probably going to end up changing. Unless you're very confident and you're not very influenced by your peers, your answer will probably change. And so what peer pressure is, it's when you feel like you should do something because it's what your friends are doing. It is pressure that is influenced from your peers, in other words, your friends. So today we're talking about peer pressure. I would ask you as a class, is peer pressure always negative? And then you'd sit there and think, and you'd probably realize, no, it's not always a bad thing. Some examples of positive peer pressure are the following. Number one, if someone's encouraging you to get a job, that is a good thing. Someone's encouraging you to go to college, that is a good thing. If someone's encouraging you to go to the gym with them, that's a good thing. Maybe you're hanging out with people that are avoiding drugs and alcohol, that would be a good thing. Maybe they're encouraging you to study for a test, get in a study group, encouraging you to join a sport or an extracurricular activity. Maybe they're encouraging you to volunteer. If they are leading you to do these things that have a positive benefit, then it's not negative peer pressure. It would be a positive experience. I want you to think for a second what you think the top 5 things most teens are peer pressured into doing. So just think for a second, what do you think are the top 5 things? I guarantee most of you are easily thinking drugs. You might say juuling, weed, things like that. It's just a category called drugs. Most of you are probably thinking alcohol. Kind of try to think a little bit deeper. What besides drugs and alcohol? There's 5 things are teens pressured to do. There's 3 things left, obviously. See if you can get them. First one is drugs or tobacco use. That would be the first category. Second one is alcohol. These are the 2 that I'm assuming most of you got without my help. The next one is actually stealing. I guarantee at least half of the class has stole something, whether that be from a store or from a person, because they were influenced by their peers. A lot of people are pressured into bullying. Maybe it's not intentional, but they are influenced into bullying because of their peers. And then the last one, clearly why this fits into our human sexuality unit, is because people are also pressured into having sex. There are 2 types of peer pressure. The first one's direct. The next one is indirect. We'll kind of talk about the 2. Direct peer pressure is when someone is trying to convince you to do something that you would not normally do. They are directly convincing you to do something. So this would be teasing, persuasion, put downs, threats, bribery. And then indirect peer pressure is the pressure that results from being swayed to do something because people you are looking up to are doing it. So these would be things that you see in TV, the radio, advertising, famous or popular people. So if you like the way a particular style of gym shoes looks on a popular basketball player and you want to get a pair because you want to look like them, would that be direct peer pressure? Are they directly influencing you? Or would that be indirect? They are not directly influencing you. It would be indirect because I guarantee that basketball player isn't telling you to get the shoes. It's through an advertisement. Your doctor says that your risk of diabetes increases if you do not exercise or change your diet. Would this be indirect or direct peer pressure? Your doctor says that your risk of diabetes increases. This is coming directly from your doctor, so this would be direct peer pressure. Next, your uncle tells you that he will give you $15 for every home run you hit during the softball season. Would that be direct or indirect? It is coming from your uncle. It's coming from your uncle to you, so that would be direct peer pressure. Now let's talk about another type of peer pressure. This is internal peer pressure and external peer pressure. Internal pressure is the pressure or encouraging that comes from within yourself. So this would be your morals, your values, maybe you're curious. Those would be examples of why you are internally pressured to do something. The next is external pressure, and this is when the pressure or encouraging comes from someone or something else. So it's not coming from within you, it is coming from a different source. So this would be your friends, the media, and things like that. So in class, we would typically do this chart together. However, we'll just briefly talk about it while you're viewing this. Basically, we are looking at internal and external pressures of having sex and internal and external pressures of being abstinent or not engaging in sexual activity. So internally, what would be a reason that you would want to have sex? The answer would be because you are curious. What would be an external pressure for you to have sex would probably be because it's what your friends are doing and you feel the pressure from them. And then you would say, what is a positive to engaging in intercourse? That would be you get a stronger relationship with your partner. And then a negative of having sex is that you could feel guilt or shame, maybe for having it earlier than you wanted. The next one is abstinence. So this is choosing not to engage in activity. What would be an internal pressure? Oh, come on. Hold on. It messed up my freaking thing. Okay, there we go. So an internal pressure for choosing not to engage in activity is probably because your morals or your values. Maybe you believe that you should have a strong relationship with someone first. Maybe you believe that you should wait until marriage. That would be something within yourself. Okay. An external pressure for not engaging in activity would probably be the pressure from your parents, because a lot of times your parents encourage you not to engage in activity, and so that pressure from your parents can be a factor. So what would be a positive of staying abstinent? Well, if we're abstinent, not engaging in activity, we're not going to get STDs, we're not going to get pregnant, so that is good. And then a negative is maybe you're not getting that stronger bond with your partner. Maybe it's leading to arguments in your relationship and things like that. So you can kind of see the difference between internal and external pressures when it comes to engaging in intercourse. So what can you do if someone's trying to pressure you into doing something and you do not want to do it? There are these things called refusal skills. These are ways that we refuse things, and there are different skills that we can use. The first one is steering clear. Don't hang out or put yourself in a situation where you have to deal with the problem. That's option one. Option two is to ignore the suggestion. If someone says something to you and it's not something you're interested in, you could literally pretend that you didn't hear what they were saying and hope that they do not bring it up again. Now, that doesn't guarantee that they won't bring it up again, but it's just a thought. Give a reason why you don't want to, kind of make an excuse. If we're talking about doing drugs or alcohol, a lot of people will say, I have a bunch of alcoholics in my family. I see how it affects them. I'm good. Or I get drug tested at my job. Make an excuse for why you cannot engage in that activity. Become a broken record. We as humans naturally, whenever someone asks us to do something and we tell them no, and they ask us again and we tell them no, and we just continue to tell them no, just become more confident in your responses when you're telling them no. Stick to your guns. Be sure that you are staying true. The next option is to leave the situation. I find this the most helpful. If you're in an uncomfortable situation where you feel like you're being pressured, take yourself out of that situation so that you are not in that problem. Team up with someone. If you are hanging out with someone and someone's kind of pressuring someone into doing something that they don't want to do, basically back that person up. or have someone team up with you and be like, because basically 2 opinions is better than 1. And so having that person for you can be helpful. So the question is, we know that we shouldn't do certain things. However, we do things when we are pressured by our friends. And the question is, why do we do that? Biggest thing is we have that desire to fit in. If we don't do it, maybe we're teased. It's what everyone else is doing. So then we're curious. Maybe we are curious to try something new. And then we have that fear of being judged or made fun of. In class, we would have done this. I would have given you a scenario, and then you had to apply the decide method. So you would see the problem. This is the issue. You would explore the options you have. Okay, this is option 1. This is option 2. Then you would consider, if I do option 1, this is what's going to happen. If I do option 2, this is what's going to happen. And then you would think about your values. Which one are you going to choose based on the options and the consequences and why? And then you're going to decide to make that decision. And then after, obviously, you would evaluate, was it the right decision, things like that. So I'll just give you an example of one we would have done in class. I'm not going to sit here and make you go through them. Let's do ADHD medication. Your friend has an 89.7 in algebra, and their teacher does not round up. They have been studying like mad, but is having trouble focusing. During a break, they text their friend Ryan, who is diagnosed with ADHD, about the problem. Ryan offers your friend some of the medication, claiming they know it will help, as they have shared their meds with others before. The school has a really strict no drug policy, but that A grade would be nice. So the question is, how do you approach this? You have 2 options. Define the problem. The problem is someone's offering you ADHD medication. Then you do the E, explore the alternative. So what can I do? I can take the ADHD medication or I cannot take it. Those are my 2 options. Now I'm going to consider the consequences. If I take the ADHD medicine, maybe I found out that it works, but then I kind of am like, wow, I kind of liked how that made me feel. And then I start taking it more frequently than I should. Or I could just work harder to study for the final, try my best, and hope I get the grade I get. So I'm going to consider my options, and then I'm going to identify my values. Do I want to get addicted to this medication? Or do I want to just try my best and study and work hard? Personally, I want to study and work hard because it's the right thing to do. If I get a B, it's not that big of a deal. Then I'm going to decide. I've already made the decision. I'm doing option B. I'm just going to study hard. I don't need to take the medication. Then after you take the test, you figure out what your grade is, then you can evaluate it. Okay, I passed the class. I made the right decision. I didn't pass it. Oh, maybe I could have chose this alternative. There were so many different options we would have been able to do in class. Unfortunately, we're doing this online. So, moving on. We are going to do a knowledge check just to see how you understand peer pressure. It is on Canvas. It is under quizzes. Whenever you're on your daily agenda, you should be able to click the link and take the quiz. It's going to ask you different situations where people are talking about engaging in intercourse, having sex, and you have to decide, is this a peer pressured situation or no? So you'll take that. It will give you feedback based on each response you do. View your feedback and move on. That's all for today. I'm not going to make you watch this video. Hopefully you understand more on peer pressure.